women are taking over! Welcome to Man Class, where we talk God, girls, and goals, and we've got one rule only.
Keep it 100.
I'm your host, Brandon, and this is our residential research expert, Trey, aka he lives here, and in today's episode, we have a women takeover. But first, check out this week's man skill.
Hey guys, I have a date idea for you today, where the budget ranges from free to as baller as you want to be. We all know it's not the best idea to take a girl out to the movies on your first date. Now why, you may ask? Because you're not going to talk. You're not going to get to know this person who you like. So I want to give you some ideas on making a movie night the best night ever. This would not be a great first date if you don't know each other yet. So let's say you've had a girlfriend for a while and you want to go see a movie, but you know it might be kind of a lame idea to just go sit in a theater and watch a movie. All right, here's what you're going to do. You are going to make your date night an interactive movie night. What you're going to do is you're going to pick a movie you've both seen, you've both loved, and then you, before the date, are going to plan out activities that are interactive and match the movie. For example, if you were going to watch The Lion King, you could totally go to the party store and get some lion manes, and when he's singing, "I just can't wait to be king," you pull them out and you make you and your girl both wear the lion manes and you're singing along, okay? This is a great way to see what kind of sense of humor your girl has. Is she willing to go all out? Is she willing to be hilarious and a total dork with you? Or maybe not so much. Find some activities, maybe even some ways that you can show you know her and you know things she likes. For example, one of the activities my guy did included 2 goblets, and one had his favorite drink in it and one had my favorite. And so his was like root beer, which I hate, and mine was Dr. Pepper, but they were mixed up because that's what happens in the movie. And so I had to pick, I got to pick the one that had the drink I really like or one that something I didn't really like, okay? So there's ways that you can show your lady you've paid attention to the details, having her favorite candy, having her favorite soda, whatever that looks like. When I was taken out on this date, we did a movie in the park. You, depending on where you live, the time of year, and how much you want to spend, could do this by picking a movie that's playing at a movie in the park, a drive-in. You could go to an actual movie theater, or you could have a night in at one of your homes where you guys pick a movie that you already can watch on your TV. Find ways to take something that might not have a lot of conversation, like a movie night, and find ways to really make it interactive. Make your girl feel like you want to know her more, and you know who she is already, and you care about her. That's a great date idea. Have fun.
Here's a great first date idea: to go bowling, arcade, and have food. There are some places out there that you can do all three at the same place. And I think it'd be fun, on a first date, you don't really know each other, so it's just fun to have like some kind of healthy competition. And a bowling date with an arcade and food would probably cost a little around $70, so you might have to budget for that one. But again, it's super fun, and you have time to have a great conversation, and you meet at a mutual place, so it's not like you know more about this than she does. So yeah, hope that helps.
My date idea could potentially be free, or it could cost you about $20 to $25. And the idea is to pack a lunch and take it up to the mountains for a picnic. So it could be free because you could, ultimately pack food that you already have in your refrigerator. The guy could be responsible for packing the lunch, the girl could bring snacks or drinks or vice versa or whatever, but you could kind of double team it to make it free or affordable. And then the other option would be to pick up subs on the way or some kind of food that you can eat at a picnic. But the reason why I really like this idea is because when you go to the mountains, you're kind of off the grid. Your phones don't work, so there's no distraction. You're able to connect and really have good conversation, but also enjoy the scenery.
Fellas, for the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about some real man stuff. But I thought, Trey, that today it might be valuable if we heard from the ladies. So without further ado, Trey, raise that shade! Fellas, we have something special this week on Man Class. We're throwing it to the ladies. For the last 4 weeks, we've talked all about the topics of God, relationships, sex, dating, all of that. And this week, we want to get the input of the fairer sex. So I've invited some of my friends onto the conversation today to answer some questions all about what we've talked about so far. Hey ladies, welcome to today's conversation. We're going to jump right into the questions. In week 1 of Man Class, we talked all about the importance of a guy wrestling with the idea of God and of faith, and why faith is important for manhood. So in your ladies' perspective, why is a man having faith important for being a man?
Yes, so I believe that it's really important for a man to be pursuing faith. Number one, because we are all human and no one is perfect. And so I think that it's really important to constantly be working to better ourselves, not just as humans, but also as Christians in our walk. So really leaning on our faith and being able to go to the Bible or even go to God of like, hey, how can I grow here? I think it's really important for accountability purposes just to continually be growing.
We don't have the strength in ourselves to like lead a family, just be functioning, I guess. And it's nice to have like Jesus, someone that loves you and cares for you and like wants your best interest, that like to like lean on him and to develop a relationship with him, because he wants so much good for our life. And I think a man to like be running after him and going after him is like the most beautiful thing.
I would say that like we were all created for faith, for Jesus, to have a relationship with Jesus. So I feel like any person, but specifically right now, like a man, like you can't function in the way that you were created to function as a human, as a man, as a leader, as a husband, as a boyfriend, unless you have a foundation with a relationship with Jesus. All the things that are inside of us that are ugly or selfish or destructive, like Jesus will work that out of us, work through that with us. And obviously we need that to have healthy relationships with people and just be healthy people, but also like every single person was created for purpose and to bring something to the table. And so when we have a foundation with Jesus, like he actually wants that for us so he can help us get there.
I just see in my life how I've been led by men who didn't believe in God, didn't believe in Jesus. And that was a time in my life when I didn't believe in God as well. And I've seen how it literally led me down the road of destruction. I think of just the marriages that I see in front of me. I think of the godly men I see in front of me, and just how different and how fulfilling and sustaining and foundational their life is because they have Christ. And so that's something that I know for myself, I would want to follow a man who's sustained and founded in the Lord.
What is the most important attribute to you in a healthy relationship other than faith?
One of the most important attributes in a healthy relationship would be honesty and being able to be upfront and honest with either the person that you're dating or the person that you're in a relationship with or the person you're married to. I mean, anything I believe can be overcome as long as two people are willing to work together and be honest.
I would say someone who's like willing to communicate things and willing to just like share things about themselves or communicate what they're going through. And if you have like a disagreement or a misunderstanding, that you're at least willing to talk it out. And if you see something in yourself that needs to change, that you're willing to grow and admit that you're wrong, and have a willingness to like move forward with the person that you care about and that you're with.
Communication is massive, mutual communication. And I even like, as I was thinking about that, like we are called to be peacemakers, not just peacekeepers. And I feel like whether it's communication to get to know each other or to if there's a conflict, like especially with a conflict, like in order to be a peacemaker, you have to actively pursue it. So you can't be a passive aggressive about it or just be like, whatever, I'm just going to stuff it or whatever that might be. Communication. And then also kind of linked with that, seeking to understand the other person. I feel like it's so easy to forget that there's another person with a completely other set of thoughts or whatever. And like, we just are so concentrated on understand me, that I feel like we need to seek to understand the other person and also be able to be okay at moments of being misunderstood ourselves.
I was totally going to say understanding too, communication. And I also think someone who challenges each other. So yeah, just being able to challenge and call each other higher is super important.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing your insight into that one attribute of a healthy relationship. Now, the next question is a little more personal. For those of you who are married, you probably have this answer locked in. It looks a whole lot like your husband. But for those of you who are single, this will be kind of a challenge for you. The question is this: what are the attributes you're looking for in a future husband or in a guy that you want to date? Who is your dream guy? Let us know. We talked about this in one of the previous weeks where we told guys, are you becoming the man that the woman you're looking for is looking for? So what are you looking for?
I am married, so this will be me speaking about my husband. But some of the really amazing things about him and that I, in a dating relationship, was looking for in a man was someone who really feared God and someone who not only feared the Lord, but took instruction from the Lord, took instruction from leaders and people really sought out to be poured into by leadership. That was something that was huge for me. Someone to make me laugh. Being friends with my spouse is one of the most amazing gifts that I think I have with him, is just being able to hang out and be his best friend, to have each other's back, to know that he's always going to support me no matter what life will throw at us, no matter, like when you get married, like sickness and in health, like rich or poor, like that he's going to support me in every aspect of our life together.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm also married, and just thinking about this makes me want to cry because I'm just so grateful for my husband. But one of the biggest things that drew me to my husband was I was always looking for someone who just like loved the Lord, but I never found that, and I wasn't willing to compromise that just to be in a relationship. So when I met my husband, I remember just seeing the fire and passion and the desire that he had for Jesus, and I was like, I have never met any man like him, and I was like hooked, and then another thing that I also love about my husband is he's like ride or die. Like, I know that he has my back, so loyal, like to his very last breath, he's gonna like protect me, love me, honor me. And he really is like willing to seek that out. We're best friends. Like, I know that I can tell him anything and we're gonna walk through anything together, and he is the person I want to be with most of my time, and like he genuinely is my best friend. And when we were dating, our mentor said, like, if they love Jesus, they're your best friend, and you can, if you like want to spend time with them, like that's good. Like, it's so important to have a solid friendship. And yeah, it is really such a gift because you're going to spend the rest of your life with them.
That's so good. I love hearing what you guys talk about your husbands. I'm not married. For me, it's like if you don't have a crazy solid faith with Jesus, then it's not even a conversation. So if we assume that, then some other things are positivity and thankfulness are huge to me. Just in general, like personality trait, but also like when life gets hard, which it will, if you can be positive and just have it and be thankful, like I think you can get through anything, especially when you're leaning on each other. I think humor is like, I love funny people, and I think that keeps life like fun. And then also a sense of confidence as well, whether that's confidence in themselves, confidence in themselves, confidence in the Lord, what he's calling them to do. Oh, the last thing, kind of what she was saying, but don't do it alone. Like, don't feel like you can like do life alone. Like, you need man friends, you need people you look up to, you need leaders, stuff like that.
One is Jesus. Number two, definitely friendship. Silly friendship. Yes to laughing, yes to being crazy and silly and adventurous. Being best friends. Someone who will be able to really be intentional with my heart, and not just for the season of dating or engagement, but really for the rest of my life. And I can do that same with them as well.
Well, fellas, I hope you were taking notes. I know Trey. actively taking notes. So thank you, ladies, for sharing that input with us. Next question is this. What are some relationship red flags? We talked about having unhealthy relationships. What are some of the main things that unhealthy relationships look like? If you see this in your relationship, there's a good chance it's unhealthy. It's a red flag.
First thing that kind of comes to mind is like any type of abuse, whether it be like verbal abuse is a real thing. Manipulating each other, that's a real thing. Control, real thing that can happen in especially dating relationships. Like I said, any kind of abuse, whether it be verbal, physical, or even sexual abuse, all massive red flags. Some other things would be just like lying, anything that you're trying to hide. Anything hidden isn't pure, it isn't love. Like love isn't hidden. Love, you shout it from the rooftops and you're proud and you're excited about it. So if it's something that's hidden, it's probably a red flag.
I definitely was going to say like verbal abuse and definitely like manipulation and control. And that's why I think it's so important to have like people speaking into your life, because sometimes you don't always realize you're being manipulated or controlled, but that's definitely really, really unhealthy. And I think too, like if I see a relationship where the woman is doing all the work, I would not think that that's healthy, because men, like you're called to like pursue and like make a woman feel like she's loved and honored and beautiful. And if I don't see like a man like really putting in work to pursue the person that he's with, I don't think that's healthy. And I think too, if you're walking in impurity, like the world tells us that like in order to have a healthy relationship, you have sex with each other, but that's honestly like so shallow if you're not married. And it's not a good way to like get to know someone and be in a relationship, because you don't need sex in a relationship to know if you're supposed to be with them. It's actually the opposite. And if you're not willing to wait, then I would say that's a really, really unhealthy sign.
Yeah, everything you guys said, like, yes, I agree. Manipulation, control, when you're hiding something, lying. I also think like being passive aggressive about what you feel about the other person, or if there's a conflict, whatever. Like, I just think that's so dishonoring to be passive aggressive. When you speak bad about your significant other to other people, like I know sometimes people are like, why would you do that? But I've been around so many contexts with like a guy's with his bros, and girls do it too, and you just make like rude, underhanded just comments. Like, that is not love, and that's not okay. And then also kind of what Malin was saying, like, I'm just gonna say it, if you, whether it's sex or just sexual things, like it might not even have to be full sex, but if that is a focus of your relationship, of your conversation, like if that's the main thing that you do or that you're talking about when you're with each other, it's just not going to last, because that like excitement is going to go away.
Love does not hide in the shadows. So totally, someone who's trying to be hidden, and Shelby mentioned this too, whether it's hide things from the significant other or just try to make the relationship be a hidden place. Also, boundaries. I think boundaries are so important, and it's something I'm learning from my life. So someone who tries to push boundaries, see how far they can go with the boundaries. Totally, like sex outside of marriage, not okay. Someone who tries to pull the girl away from family and get her alone instead of go towards family and go towards, the home that she's in, and be intentional with just being really open about conversations, being really open about just the whole relationship and everything that's happening. Like, if it can't be said in front of parents, should it be said at all? That type of thing.
Thank you for calling out those relationship red flags. That was so good. Fellas, if you find yourself in an unhealthy relationship where some of those things are apparent, be sure to check out the Man Skill on how to break up with your girl. True story, it's there. Watch the Man Skill. Now, the next question is probably one of the most hot button topics we've talked about thus far. in man class, and it's simply this: pornography. What are your ladies' opinions of pornography? And more specifically, would you feel confident pursuing a relationship with a guy who viewed pornography and was okay with it? Why or why not?
So I would say absolutely not. I wouldn't feel comfortable at all pursuing a relationship with someone who is okay with pornography. Like huge no, huge red flag. And the reason behind that is porn it's just fake. Like I'm just gonna say it. Like it just is. There's nothing real about it. You think about like even movies and everything that goes into making a movie, and we know that movies are not real life, and so that's what porn is. It's not real life. And I think that what happens when someone gets in the habit of watching it, and even it can also like cause an addiction. Like that's a real thing. Something that happens then is they get this twisted, kind of warped perspective of what sex is supposed to be like. And it's all wrong. It's nothing like that. If there's porn in the relationship, or if there's any kind of addiction to porn, it's something that you can walk in freedom from, that you don't have to carry, continue to walk in. But I would say for me, huge red flag, would not pursue a guy who's in that.
Same with me. Definitely an absolute no. Like Shelby was saying, it just sets you up for like crazy unrealistic expectations that it's not real. And when you are watching porn, you're like objectifying the women that you're viewing, and then you have this twisted view of women, which doesn't really allow you to actually love someone. It just makes your brain think that they're like an object for you to use and not actually love. Like women are not there for your sexual pleasure. Like there's more to a relationship than just sex, and there's more to a relationship than just that pleasure and that constant fulfillment. But like she was saying, like there is, like Jesus brings freedom, and there's like victory in those areas. So it's definitely not hopeless if someone has that addiction, but it's definitely like, I wouldn't ever consider being with someone if they're actively watching that.
Not only is it so destructive for the relationship because it's objectifying, it's addictive, but it also is like destructive for the man. And again, I feel like the most healthy relationships are when you're both walking in wholeness, not perfection, but wholeness. And I feel like if you're actively viewing porn, but also if you're okay with it, and you're not seeking counsel, like that's not pursuing wholeness. But I do want to say, like, just to encourage you, man, if you're watching this and this is something that you are struggling with or have struggled with, like pursue like men mentorship to help you, because there is so much freedom, there is so much victory. Like, and also I want you to know that you're not disgusting, and that the enemy will use anything to like knock people out, and there is freedom and victory. And I just want you to know, even from a woman who loves Jesus, like the man that I marry, if in his past that is something that he has struggled with, but he has victory over it because he's pursued it, like that you're a clean slate, like you're pure in my eyes.
This is something that a guy is okay with in a relationship and views porn as okay. To me, it's something that's not okay, and I wouldn't feel comfortable being with someone who has that perspective. However, if I do end up in a relationship and find out that, oh man, this is something that this guy is struggling with, but it's something that he's like seeking help for and discipleship for, and it's something that he really feels like, man, I don't want this to be a part of my life, and I'm convicted and not really okay with it, but I just need help. I don't think I would end the relationship, but I think it would be wise to set up boundaries and to bring in leadership and to just go on from there with healthy boundaries and a healthy pace until we're both in a place where our hearts are okay for the next step.
Thank you so much, ladies, for being on this episode of Man Class. And fellas, I'll tell you this, there's nothing like a lady being honest to make you view life in a different way. Now, as we close off this week's episode of Man Class, there are some reflection questions that we want you to think about. Question number 1, who do you have as a mentor in your life? If you don't have a good mentor, who could you reach out to and ask them to mentor you? Question number 2, whose opinions do you need to start listening to more about your life, and whose opinions do you need to start listening to less? Fellas, thank you for being a part of this week's Man Class. Check out this scene from next week's episode, and we'll see you right back here next week. Peace out. Today's episode, we're talking about how to accomplish your goals and do something that matters with your life. Who you are will determine what you do and don't do. Who you date and don't date. What you buy and won't buy. Who you see yourself as being is super important in your life.